Pixar's Elio is a movie about a kid who is alone and feels like nobody wants him. And based off marketing, Disney didn't want him either. Welcome back to Movies Good Internet Bad. I'm Corey, that's Shane, and this is our review of Pixar's Elio. I haven't seen the movie, Shane has. I'm going to ask him a bunch of dumb questions. He's going to give me a bunch of dumb answers. Let's dive right into this thing. Shane, did you like this movie?
I liked it, but I didn't love it.
Okay, tell me
And
more.
it's really tough because on one hand, I want to be like, run out to your theater and see this movie. It is original storytelling from Pixar. It's not a
Right.
sequel. It's not a prequel. It's not a spin-off. It is purely original story. On the other hand, I think it is above average, but not great. And so, but I think a lot of people will enjoy it. It's a very enjoyable movie. It's just
Okay.
missing that like secret sauce that
Hmm.
when you would watch Toy Story or I don't know, Monsters Inc. or any of the classic Pixar films where it's like it's got that emotional weight to it as well as all the creativity, and there's so many things in there that you're like only Pixar could have thought of that.
Hmm.
I didn't get that as much here. It felt like any studio could have done this and done it
Interesting.
well, but it's not bad by any means. I think it is mostly good.
Okay. So you're a critical film viewer. You go to these movies with a critical eye. Uh, our family's gonna just like
Yeah,
this shit
they'll
up
love
like
it.
meatloaf. Yeah.
I think it'll work well for families.
Okay.
We had a lot of kids in the audience in our screening, and I will say the last 10 minutes or so, all the kids tuned out. Like it was
Really?
a very there was a very clear moment where the entire theater worth of kids just checked out and they started
Huh.
making noise and walking around and stuff like that. And I don't know exactly what caused it. Maybe they hit their like quota of what they could take in for the
Sure.
movie.
Yeah.
But it was like during the pivotal ending scenes, it's just like a bunch of kids talking.
Interesting. It's not a very long movie, right? It's like an hour and
It's
a
an
half.
hour and 40 minutes. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's not that long. I think maybe it was just the pacing of it. The ending is kind of tying things up in a neat little
Sure.
bow, and that's maybe where they lost interest. But I
Do
think
you think
overall families will like it.
that with kids, that's like a symptom of like the iPad
It could be.
generation?
It could be.
Yeah.
I find it funny that Toy Story 5, the main villain is an iPad, basically. Yeah, it's like a tablet or something.
Uh, it should be interesting, and I guarantee you that Toy Story 5 will have about 7 times the marketing budget that this movie had, which is
Yeah, and
certainly interesting.
it's sad because I think people generally, if they knew about this movie, would go see it. And maybe it'll be like an Elemental type thing where
Okay.
Elemental first weekend, complete disaster.
Like sound
But
the
they left it,
alarm bad,
yeah,
right? Yeah,
yeah, they left it in theaters for a long time. It got good word of mouth, it had good audience scores, and then it just legged out for a long period of time, and then it became slightly profitable, I think. This one might do the same thing. It's harder because it's up against stuff like How to Train Your Dragon that's in theaters right now,
yeah,
but I'm not entirely ready to write it off just yet. I
sure.
think the audience score will actually be pretty good for this one. There's
Okay,
nothing really that I could complain about. I would never
okay.
give this a bad review. So I think the audience score will actually be quite high because it's not based on like, a 95% audience score. It could be 95% 7 out of 10s.
Sure, right.
And that's kind of what this feels like. It's like a 7.5 probably, but it's not
Okay,
bad. There's nothing bad about it. There's a lot of good humor in it. But I think the main issue with the film is that it kind of depends on the relationships between multiple characters,
okay.
Elio and two different characters. And I don't think that the relationships were built up enough for me to really care when those big moments hit at the end, where it's like, this is the moment you're supposed to be crying. And I'm just like, okay, I
Well,
guess.
so I saw a couple tweets out there from folks that were like, Disney, Pixar, I wasn't supposed to cry during this movie, and then I cried 3 times. Is that legit, or is that kind of
It
hyperbole?
so I think it could be, and I
Okay.
think people that will connect with this film are people that are um, introverts or kind of unique or different, and they didn't feel like they fit in to normal society. I think
Okay.
people like that will connect with this movie a lot. Yeah. So maybe it hits a lot for you instead. And like, I'm not that much different either. Uh but I think it just doesn't stick the landing enough. I use that term a lot, like stick the landing, but it just
It's
needed a little
important
bit
though.
more setup for these payoffs to pay off for me,
Hmm.
and I don't feel like it got it. The best comparison I can give for this movie is Lilo and Stitch. It's actually a very similar movie
The
to
new one or
Lilo and
the animated
Stitch.
one?
The anime, both, I guess, but
Okay,
the original animated film,
got it.
a little bit different, but the main character is similar to Lilo, and I guess when you think about it, their names are also very similar. I
Lilo and
wonder
Elio.
where the inspiration came from.
That's the spinoff that's coming 2 years from
It's
now.
a mystery. So Lelio. Um, but anyways,
Oh no, you're shipping them.
God, no, no, that's
you,
illegal to say
you
that on
groomer, you.
God. It is Disney, right?
Hey everybody,
We've gone way off
subscribe.
the rails here. We've gone way off the rails here. I'm sorry. I'm making terrible jokes. Um, but I think the issue is that it doesn't have the heart that Lilo and Stitch has.
Okay.
Lilo and Stitch has it. It's a similar kind of thing where Lilo has that relationship with her sister,
Hmm.
in that movie, and Stitch, and
Yep.
both of those are very powerful emotional cores.
Yes.
And it tries to do a similar thing here in Elio, but I don't think the emotional core is quite there. There's
Okay.
one character where, and I don't want to spoil too much of the actual plot, but there's one character where Elio gets close to this character, and they do it through montage.
Oh
Like
no.
after a minute long montage, they're the best of friends,
Oh.
and then it's like I don't buy
Oh.
that enough. There's not been enough screen time dedicated to that relationship for me to really buy it later.
Yeah.
So
Huh.
it does a lot of stuff like that. But it kind of reminds me of Elemental, where Elemental, I feel like there's a really good movie in there. They
Hmm.
just didn't quite find it. And this one kind of
Yeah.
feels like that too.
Yeah. I didn't catch Elemental until it released for 4K at home. And I remember enjoying it and thinking to myself, "Wow, look at all the pretty colors."
Hmm.
But then, like, if you ask me now, I don't remember like any of it.
Yeah. That's kind of how I feel about this one. There's nothing inherently bad about it. I
Right.
think it's overall pretty well executed, but nothing really memorable. There's nothing like a year from now when I think back about Elio, I won't be thinking like, oh, I got to watch that again. That's a classic, like you kind of expect from Pixar. And I say that, but recently Pixar has not been that. Like
Sure.
for years they were, and now it's kind of hit or miss. And even their best films, like Turning Red, was overall pretty good. But like again, I don't remember that movie nearly at all. I
I
don't think it's
remember it
very memorable.
turning into like
Not
a
really a
kaiju
classic.
thing in the third act.
Yeah, the third act is a big mess. Yeah.
Totally, totally wild. But
Yeah. Elio
so,
does not have that problem, but
so this brings me to my next question then. So if this is a movie that, yes, it's good, it's serviceable, kids are going to love it, but you're not going to remember it 2 years down the road. We're talking about a marketing campaign that has the film Strange World sending thoughts and prayers to it. Do you think that Disney just kind of purposefully swept this one under the rug a little bit because they kind of knew that was going to be the case? I mean, we're already in a crowded summer. I mean, this
yeah.
is this is smashed right in between two other massive Disney tentpoles. Like Lilo and
Yeah.
Stitch is still crushing at the box office.
Yeah.
Fantastic Four comes out in a couple weeks. This is right in between that, and then also sandwiched in with How to Train Your Dragon and Superman
Yeah.
and all these other. Like, it's just going to get completely lost in the shuffle. It seems like a really strange strategy on their behalf.
Yeah, I kind of feel that way too, where they may not have a lot of faith in it. And it's like the opening joke that you said, where it's like they didn't even want Elio either.
Poor
But
guy.
yeah, it kind of feels like that, where it was probably went through development hell for a long
Mhm.
time. They finally got it done. They screened it. They thought this is solid, but it's nothing spectacular. So they weren't going to put a ton of effort into it.
Sure.
If it legs out and people connect with it, great. But they're not going to spend a whole bunch of money trying to really pitch it to people. And it's unfortunate because I feel like if this one flops, then they've only got that one other movie kind of on the docket that's original. It's that one where they switch minds with the squirrel. I forget what it's
Oh
called.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's like
It's
their
in Italy or something.
Maybe, but
Yeah,
I think that's like the last original film we might get from Pixar. If this
right.
flops and then that doesn't do well.
The rest is what? Incredibles 3,
Incredibles
Toy Story
7, Toy
5,
Story 25. They'll
Bugs
probably
Life
throw
26.
some Finding Nemo 7 in there. Yeah, it's going to be all sequels. Unfortunately, it's just the way of the world now.
I saw a joke earlier that said that A Bug's Life is the most woke Pixar movie because it has Kevin Spacey as the villain and he gets beaten by a communist government. And it got me. But yeah, yeah, it's interesting. If it were me, I would have probably released this movie mid to late August, like right
Yeah.
before the kids go back to school. Once the
Hmm.
summer blockbuster season has kind of died down a little bit, I think you put something like this in there. It's the dog days of summer. Parents are desperate to do something to keep their kids from
Hmm.
going crazy before school starts. It would have been like a smash hit, I think there. But here, it kind of seems like it's destined to not even get noticed.
There is something interesting going on with the box office, though, where it seems like the only movies that are really, really hitting, like billion plus, are family movies.
Yeah,
If you
that's
think
true.
about last year, it's like Moana, Inside Out 2, like
Deadpool and Wolverine.
Super Mario Brothers. Yeah, Deadpool and Wolverine.
It's a family film,
Super
just a
Mario was
lot
2
of
years ago, I think,
cursing.
or whatever, 3 years ago.
Years,
But
yeah,
but when that came out, it was big too. Minecraft this year, kind of the same thing. Like, it
yep.
seems like the main driver of movie attendance now is kids and families. And
Hmm.
so maybe this one will leg out and, surprise everybody, but the box office tracking is not looking great. I think it's tracking to like 20 million, maybe a little bit higher after the
Yeah,
Rotten Tomatoes score
which
came out, but
I,
20
I
million would be the worst ever
very bad.
for Pixar.
Which you have to take into account. A Pixar movie costs at least 125 to 150 million dollars to make, right? And then
Yeah.
you've got, even with a paper thin marketing campaign, there's still some marketing dollars that are getting thrown at it. This
Yep.
thing's going to have to do gangbusters numbers or sell a lot of merchandise or theme park stuff or something to find its way back to breaking even.
Yeah, it has to make roughly $300 million to break even worldwide,
It's a lot.
which Elemental did that, but it started poorly. So
Mhm.
it's possible, but I'd say it's kind of unlikely. But I do think, based off of the movie that I watched, I don't know how many people would highly recommend it to other people,
Mhm.
but nobody's going to say it's a bad movie.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
like when you look at all of the scores that are going to come out, the Rotten Tomatoes score, I'd actually be surprised if it's below 90.
Really.
I don't think there's anything in there that would cause people to give it bad reviews. So I
Okay.
think it's going to be a lot of like 4 stars on
Hmm.
on the sites, and so that might push people to go see it.
Yeah. So it could be good word of mouth. And,
Yeah.
one family goes to see it and then they tell all their family friends, like, hey, go take your kids to see this because ours loved it or whatever. And
Yeah,
that's how that sort
and
of
there's
thing goes.
nothing in there that's inherently controversial. Like, things get lost in the shuffle. Now, like Lightyear had that huge like campaign against it because there was a same-sex kiss on screen or
Oh,
something like
no.
that, and everyone
Horror.
freaked out and like review
Oh,
bombed it and all that stuff. That
whatever will
this
we
is not
do?
gonna, yeah, this is not gonna have that.
Okay.
So I don't think that I don't think enough people will detract from the word of mouth. So I think
Okay.
it'll probably do pretty well.
So real fast, let's talk about the craft and everything. Because when it comes to animation, one of the things that I always look for is, are they doing something that's groundbreaking? Are they coming out of the gate with something wild, like a Spider Verse thing? When that came out, it blew
Yeah.
everybody's mind, right? Because it was so different from
Hmm.
what they had seen before. Does this movie do any of that, or is it kind of playing it safe?
Not really, but like it's really good looking.
Okay.
Pixar is incredible at what they do.
Yeah.
Everything in the movie looks incredible, but I wouldn't say there's anything, because for a while there, Pixar was like breaking new ground with each new release. Like
Hmm.
Monsters Inc. was like 3D fur for the first time, and
Hmm.
all stuff like that. This doesn't do anything like that. I honestly don't know what they could do at this point. Like it feels perfected. The
Yeah.
one downside that I have is that all the characters uh, in their movies now look like Wallace and Gromit characters with like the oval mouth and like the pushed up noses and stuff.
No.
Like a cross between Wallace and Gromit and like the Who's from
Oh,
the
from
Grinch.
The Grinch. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
the Whoville. Like there's one profile shot of Zoe Saldana's character where like the nose and whole upper half of the face is protruding so much that I was like, am I watching the Grinch right now? It literally looks like straight up like their profiles from the Grinch.
That's funny.
And it just threw me that it was literally like in that one scene, it took me completely out because I was like, the Whoville, it's
That
uh
that's interesting because in a lot of other animated stuff right now, like Wild Robot came out last year,
mhm,
and it's 3D animated, but it almost looks like it has like brush strokes,
some
like a
texture.
like very painterly type thing.
Yeah.
The Spider Verse stuff looks like, almost like it's hand drawn.
Disney
Uh,
tried to do that with what was that movie? Where it was like about the wishes? Was it just called
Wish,
Wish? It was
Wish,
just called Wish?
yeah.
Yeah. It looked horrible. Like they tried to make it like half 2D, half 3D, and it looked awful. It just looked like low poly, like low resolution.
But I bet it had a
Uh
bigger marketing budget than Elio.
oh yeah, because it was like their 50th anniversary, whatever,
Yeah.
100th anniversary thing. Yeah, this it looks really good, but I want to say that like I think the biggest miss with Pixar lately is they keep making movies about people.
Mm,
Like if you look back,
okay.
if you look in like the top 10 Pixar movies ever, I would say like Up and The Incredibles are probably the only ones starring humans, right? Am I
The
missing one?
Incredibles are
But they're
super powered
superheroes,
humans.
right? Yeah.
Like they did Soul, and Soul was about humans.
But then he becomes like a blue blob thing.
Wally is about the greatest robot to ever grace our screens. The first half of Wally is my favorite Pixar movie of all time.
It's incredible. Yeah. I'm a
I
big
watched the first half of that movie and then just turn it off because it is so damn good.
yeah.
It's unreal. But yeah, I mean, Toy Story. There's three of those, four of
Yep.
those, and it's all
Monsters
just
Inc.,
inanimate
Cars,
objects. Yeah,
Finding Nemo,
Bugs
and
Life.
because I think the difference is back then they were using animals to explain people's problems,
Yeah, yeah,
and like there were metaphors in there, and now they're just people's problems.
yeah. Even like Inside Out, they're
Yeah, they're
humanizing
emotions,
something
right?
that's abstract, right?
Exactly,
Huh.
and you don't get that, and so I feel like a lot of the creativity diminishes there because they just don't have as much opportunity. Making a
Interesting.
story about a kid who's lonely could be done by anyone.
Right.
If you make a story about, I don't know, an eagle who's I'm making this up, who's lonely, that's something Pixar maybe could only do,
Lonely
and you'd get a
Eagle,
lot.
a movie is
I
good,
don't know.
internet bad joint coming
If
next
I
summer.
if I see their next movies about an eagle, I'm gonna send them
Well,
a
cease and
strongly
desist.
worded letter.
In the mail, though, not an email, like a
Yes,
physical letter
yes.
that tells them that you're very angry with them. Anything else you want to say about this movie?
I don't think so. I mean, I would still recommend it. Go see it. You might connect with it more than I did. I always want to see original films do well, so
Yes,
I hope it does well.
absolutely. I would like to reiterate, because sometimes we can come across as curmudgeonly, surly old men on this channel. We encourage people going to the movie theater. Like we need to keep cinema alive, even if a movie you go see isn't your favorite. I've watched, I think, 35 movies that have come out in 2025 already, and most of those have been trips to the cinema. Right? I don't love all those movies, but I still go because I want to support them, and
Yeah.
and I enjoy going in with a critical eye, even if it's something that's not my favorite, to be able
Hmm.
to at least learn something that I didn't like, to then apply that thought to something that I do like someday.
Yeah.
Definitely worth checking this stuff out, whether it's Elio, whether it's the new Jurassic World that we just reviewed this week, whether it's 28 years later, which was shot entirely on an iPhone. Like that story might not even be what is interesting to you, but go see it just to see a big Hollywood movie that's shot on an iPhone 15.
Yeah.
Like I don't
Yeah.
know.
We've gotten into this. I guess we're going to go on a real tangent here, but we've gotten
Hell
into
yeah.
this like this barrier to entry to seeing a movie where it's like
Yes.
I'm only going to see it if it's good.
No.
And
Don't do that.
yeah, go what's not good for someone could be great for somebody else. There's plenty of
Yep.
movies that I love that other people don't like, or I don't like that plenty of people like.
Yep.
It's all going to differ. And so with this one, give it a shot. I think it is good enough for me to recommend you go out to the theater to watch it.
I love that. It gets the Movies Good Internet Bad seal of approval. Go check out Pixar's Elio. We have done more advertising for it than the Walt Disney Company has. That's going to wrap it up for this video. Go ahead and drop us a comment below if you saw this movie, if you liked it. If you haven't seen it and you're on the fence, let us know. We'll answer every comment that comes through. Please like this video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Go check out our review of Jurassic World Rebirth. There are no spoilers in it, contrary to what some of the comments have said. We're also going to be covering F1 next week. We've got Superman in July, Fantastic Four in July. Lots of stuff to look forward to. So be on the lookout for all that and so much more. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.